All right. Are you ready for the next speaker? Yeah. I like that attitude. Good job. All right. So maybe you can give a little dance for him when he shows up. He's an awesome man. He's known as the wolf of online marketing. In case you don't know him, he's just awesome. He really is a full stack online entrepreneur. I love that. He has built multiple million-dollar businesses as an affiliate with his agency and building brands, which I really respect. I think that's awesome. He has been around for a while, and he does a lot of things because he loves to learn, right? Digest stuff and test it out. So he's a little bit of a guinea pig for you guys. He will share what works for him and what you can implement in 2022. It's a great pleasure to have him back. This is the wolf, Maor Benaim.
Don't let anyone fool you. This is not easy money. It's not passive income. I know a lot of gurus and mentors that are saying that. Digital marketing is such a road, it's such a roller coaster. You're gonna lose money, you're gonna be building stuff, you're gonna be breaking stuff. And COVID has accelerated what we all, as marketers, knew that was going to happen anyway. There are a lot more players now that makes everything a lot more difficult because it's getting harder to push ads. The policy has gotten a lot more strict. It's a lot harder to get ads through. Ad accounts go down, business managers go down. Accounts are getting banned, which is a nightmare for anyone who's running Facebook stuff. And prices have gone up because of all of the players that are now joining. The costs, all of the costs in tracking iOS and everything has been a total nightmare throughout the last year. Shipping and cost of goods went up, and we now have basically a mentor and a guru and an investor on every time we open up any type of app. When you don't really know who to trust, who you can learn from, which is just like, it's a nightmare, honestly, for anyone who's like starting out. So every week there would be someone who approaches me and tells me, if you would start now, where would you go? And I'm like, oh my God, thank God I don't need to start now. So the industry kind of like works in a way where it's almost like a washing machine, and I always like to kind of like say it's like Vegas. People come into Vegas, they're always happy when they do, and if you go back from Vegas, you always hear the planes are completely silent because everyone lost their money. And this is how affiliate marketing really is now. You have 70 people going in. Most of them are just trying out some offers. They try and run some lead gen, some e-commerce, because they saw videos on YouTube of people driving Lambos and having a really nice lifestyle. Most of them lose the money and they just go outside. So it definitely makes it harder on policies and also prices, just because we have a lot more competition. So let's talk about what we do have control over. When I went through the media buyer groups and surveyed, I found out that at least 85% of media buyers nowadays buy media on Facebook. And when I say Facebook, I mean just on Facebook. They have zero to none experience with other platforms like Google and TikTok and stuff like that. And I feel like that's crazy. These people are right now in an abusive relationship. I mean, you lost your account, you lost your business manager, this guy is using his mother's account. Don't even get me started about this guy reading his mother's messages because he has to be logged in. And I feel like people who are in an abusive relationship usually don't admit that. And I've been in the industry for such a long time that I already know that people make up different excuses. So I hear, yeah, you know, you can't upload a lot of campaigns into Facebook. That's when your account gets banned. You don't want to get a lot of users inside your business manager. My Facebook page got restricted because of blah, blah, blah. And I feel like it's time to move on from this toxic relationship. And by the way, if by saying that I disappear because of one of these big companies whom I don't want to say their name is gonna kidnap me or anything, just know that I loved you and know exactly what happened to me. So I feel like we gave them enough time to try and improve their customer service experience. We gave them enough time to try and improve their policy and everything. And it's just time to do, to diversify, essentially. You want to make sure that you do what needed to be done anyways a long time ago if you wanted to scale your business, your agency, and stuff like that. So, hello guys, my name is Maor Benaim. It's a hard name to pronounce, so you guys can call me Wolf. I feel like every one of you is right now like my friend. I'm 33 years old. I was born in Jerusalem, and now I live in Tel Aviv. For me, digital marketing isn't about driving Lambos or buying Bentleys or all of that stuff. My personal story that I really like to share on stage, because that reminds me of why I got into the industry, is really kind of like a rags to riches classic kind of story. I grew up in Jerusalem, which is the second largest city, poorest city in Israel. And I overheard my mother talk to her sister, my aunt, through the door, and she told her it's the middle of the month and we don't have money to buy food. And that broke my heart. I was, I think, 19 or something like that. And I told myself, okay, I want my mother to have a really good time. I want my mother to enjoy life, because all she did was cook for us and clean and do these kinds of stuff. So I told myself, okay, I'm gonna be a millionaire by the time that I get to 30 years old. From that point on, I got obsessed, and I understood, you know, they say that you can only connect the dots backwards. You can't connect the dots looking or being in the situation. So I understood at that time that I have to do it quick, and I got obsessed. I remember I was completely like dealing with how do I make my first million, and I don't know, I guess it's a combination of who I am and being obsessive, but it only took me 10 months to generate it. So the end of the story is really nice and good. I closed up their debt, and I flew them out to Vegas and did a couple of stuff that I really wanted. So some fun facts about me. The name, a question that people keep asking me that a lot. Yes, it came from the movie, but it also came because Maor, just like Philip, tried to say and pronounce my name, and I know Philip for a couple of years now. It's a hard name to pronounce, and it always sounds like a horny cat, like a meow, kind of. So you guys can call me Wolf, and that's the name. So I'm an affiliate. I have a small boutique agency back in Israel, and I also have another agency for bigger clients and US clients and stuff like that. I have some of my own brands. So I have a nutrition and supplements company. I have a fitness center that we branched out and opened up multiple locations. And we also have a fitness app. And I also am partnered with a talent agency where we take really interesting people and build out their organic stuff on YouTube and stuff like that. Above all, I feel like I'm a full-stack marketer. So a full-stack marketer for me is someone who obsesses on every platform and every media buying platform there is. Just like a programmer or a person that codes, he cannot just deal with HTML or PHP or JavaScript. I feel like a full-stack media buyer nowadays needs to also be a graphic designer. He needs to be a video editor. He needs to know how to optimize, how to implement codes, how to deal with Google Analytics and Google Tag Manager and stuff like that. And I mean, I don't feel like you need to be a professional video editor or just like edit photos or stuff like that. But I do feel you need to have the flexibility and be dynamic enough to not be reliant and don't get like the project or whatever you're running really stuck. So here we go. This is going to be my top media buying tips for 2022. This is a collection of stuff that's going to help you lower your costs, scale it. We're going to talk a bit about Facebook, but mostly about Google Ads, mostly about native stuff. And sometimes I really fire them quickly because I tried and squeezed a lot into this presentation. So if you have any questions and stuff like that, before I lose my voice after this one, you can kind of like talk to me, and yeah, and if you take any photos or pictures, make sure that you also send me a message after and tell me if you liked my presentation, because that helps me with my low self-esteem. Okay, so everything that you see here was tested with my own money, or consultations and account audits that I have done. So this is not stuff that I, found all over the internet. This is really stuff that I tested myself. This is what I do day in and day out. The first tip that we're going to talk about is something that's called soft conversions. I feel like that's something that's not really being used right now by a lot of people. So usually when I audit an account, I can see exactly if that person came from Facebook, because people who come from Facebook usually just optimize on the end of the funnel, like the checkout, the purchase. And the thing with Google Ads and native ads is that you really need a lot more data points to help the algorithm really know who converts and stuff like that. So a soft conversion would be anything between the first initial click and the purchase at the end. So it could be, of course, someone who adds to cart. It could be someone who initiates checkouts. But it also could be, if you don't have anything in between, someone who spends an amount of time on your website or scrolls down the page. So what I usually do is use Google Tag Manager to implement all of my codes, because I like to have everything really organized. And I feel like you're going to deal with multiple platforms and you want everyone to have access to it. So I don't like really editing the code myself. That's why Google Tag Manager is there. And one thing that I noticed when people do use soft conversions is that sometimes they would make the conversion really easy. So my rule of thumb is that anything that converts over 25 or 30% is something that is not really good, just because it doesn't really help the system distinguish between a good click and a bad click, a person who has potential of converting and a person who does not have a potential to actually make the purchase. So you want to make sure that you set up a soft conversion that has anything below 25 or 30%. So if you set up a conversion of a person that spends 20 seconds inside your website, then try 30 seconds, for example. So platforms like Outbrain, for example, allow you to add multiple conversions into that campaign. So it helps the system really understand who is likely to convert, and it gives the system a lot more data points on how to find the correct users. But you can also choose what conversion you want the system to optimize on. So if you're going to use any type of automated bidding, like target CPA, then the system would know what to optimize on. So usually if you have a Shopify store, you can just use the Google Shopping app. That would install all of the soft conversions in between, add to carts and stuff like that. Don't use like the generic code and stuff like that if you have a system, just like a Shopify system or an e-com system that allows quick integration. And when you set up these conversions, you want to make sure that you really distinguish between what's called including all conversions, or a primary and a secondary conversion. So for example, when you set them up on Google, you need to make sure that you distinguish between a checkout, a purchase, which is supposed to be a primary conversion, and a secondary conversion, which is a soft conversion, essentially. So within Taboola, for example, you can choose if you want to include or not include that. That is extremely important that you do that, because sometimes I would look inside campaigns and the person would not understand why the system doesn't really distinguishes or chooses the right people. The next thing I feel like I could do a whole talk about, and I can talk about it like for days, is remarketing, and for some reason, that's the biggest thing that I keep seeing that is missing on accounts, and I feel like it's crazy. You guys spend so much money on top of funnel traffic. Why not squeeze everything that you can from the bottom of funnel? So, I mean, my rule of thumb when I test campaigns is that I do not open any type of top funnel traffic and any type of new top of funnel campaigns till I see that the bottom of funnel remarketing campaigns work. And if they don't, then change the angle, change the ads, change the landing page, I don't know. But make sure you have the complete funnel before you progress and open up a top of funnel campaign and stuff like that. So I'm not going to go into the deep technical stuff, but the first part would be making sure that your audience library is set up correctly. So what I like to do, even before I set up any campaign, is make sure that I open up all of the audience segments. So it could be the generic stuff like people who initiated checkout, people who added to cart and stuff like that. But it could be people who spend a decent amount of time on my website or also viewed products and stuff like that. And I also like to segment them out by days. So I usually open up like a 7, 40, 30, 60, 90, and 180 days. But you guys know how long your sales cycle is. So you want to make sure that you open that up and set the audience traffic and audiences library correctly. So you first want to make sure that you're really squeezing everything that you can from that top of funnel traffic. So I suggest you open up a remarketing campaign within all of the networks. So search, video, discovery, and also display, of course, because you don't know what's going to work. Like sometimes people guess and they say, yeah, maybe video is the right thing for me. Honestly, you cannot know what's going to work. And of course, if you guys have a lot of traffic coming in, even if it's just from one traffic source, you want to make sure that you segment or open up the campaigns and audiences that are closest to the end of the funnel. Okay, so if we're doing remarketing and we have a lot of people who just initiated checkout, you want to make sure that you open up that campaign first before you try and scale further. So usually, even when I see an account running a remarketing campaign, it's running just like a video discovery or display campaign within Google. But if you want to make sure that you're really squeezing everything that you can, you want to make sure that you first have a search campaign. So you guys need to understand that when you're running any type of traffic, even from Facebook, even from, I don't know, places like Natives, where you buy really cheap impressions, then you're going to get a lot more branded and non-branded searches, because people nowadays are smart. They like to go and really research and go through the whole research and discovery loop. So they're going to see your ad on a discovery platform like Instagram, and then they're going to search for your brand and stuff like that. So that's the first thing I would definitely do. And these are like my 3 rules. And I'm, by the way, going to take part in the lead gen panel. And I'm going to talk about that in greater depth. But these are like my 3 rules that you need to make sure that you have if you want to take advantage of good search remarketing campaigns. So the first one would be making sure that you overbid and crush and bully the competition within the search campaign. So you want to make sure that you raise the bids by a lot. The second thing would be making sure that you create different creatives. So usually, if someone opens up a search remarketing campaign, they would have the same creative as the top of funnel. So you want to make sure that you approach the audience in a different way. You don't want to tell them again what's your name and what you do. You want to take another approach. If the main reject that you have for people not converting is prices, make sure that you approach that in a different way. Create urgency, a sale, something like that. And the biggest thing for me, which is something that I'm going to talk about within the shopping remarketing campaign in just a few slides, is the different SKUs. So, for example, if you're running a search remarketing campaign for someone who already purchased from you in the past, you want to make sure that you send them towards another type of product. Sometimes it would be a bigger bundle, sometimes it would be a more expensive product, just because that person already experienced your brand and knows that you are legit. The second layer we're going to add is just segmenting the audiences through UTMs. That's one of the biggest reasons people are losing within remarketing campaigns. So what they do usually, they would open up the initial remarketing campaign. It would be traffic that comes from Facebook, which is really high quality traffic. And then they would open up a bunch of different campaigns through the Discovery network, maybe a Display network, maybe some natives. And they would blend that into the Facebook traffic. So what happens there is that you get a really quality traffic from Facebook and a lot of garbage traffic that doesn't convert. So you want to make sure that you segment out the traffic, just like I told you initially, within the audiences library. And you want to make sure that you really segment it by using UTMs. So within the URLs that you're sending traffic to, you're going to have source equals Facebook, for example, and then campaign name is lookalike audience, for example. So when you set up that audience inside the audience segments, you have that specific audience and you can do a bunch of stuff with it. And of course, it really depends on the amount of traffic that you guys have. So if you don't have a lot of traffic, of course, don't blend it. But I'm talking about when you're starting to scale the campaign. So if you look inside my audience manager, you're going to see I have the Facebook audiences, I have my GDN and Taboola audience, for example, and then I would have everything segmented out by the type of audience, the targeting, and then by days. So this is just like an example, obviously, but the cool thing about Google is that unlike Facebook, when you add to Facebook a bunch of different segments, you're going to basically, you don't know where the conversion, the click, or the impression came out of. So you would have certain audiences, and you can't optimize, exclude, or bid adjust any of them. But the cool thing with Google is that once you set up different campaigns, different audiences within a campaign, you can see, okay, the conversion came from this audience or that audience, and then we can start to bid adjust it up or down, or exclude it. The next tip I have for you is really an untapped market, and this is going to create such a big change to everyone who's running, who needs to be running any type of like search campaigns. So this is going to involve YouTube, but not in a way where usually people think just like video targetings and stuff like that. People don't remember or don't realize that YouTube is the second largest search engine out there. That is extremely big. So the reason why people miss the fact that you can use YouTube as a search engine and just like get search traffic from it is that when you open up a campaign within Google, it asks you what are you going to open up? Is it going to be a sales campaign or leads campaign? Usually people would choose one or the other, and then you can choose the specific network. So when you go inside the targeting inside that campaign, you do not have the ability to exclude or choose a specific placement within YouTube. But if you go into the campaign creation thing and you choose create a campaign without a goals guidance and then choose YouTube or video, then you're going to have the ability to choose only YouTube search results. Okay, so the ads inside the YouTube search result would look something like that. And you can be really aggressive with the thumbnails, the headlines, and the descriptions. And you can just do stuff that even Taboola and native platforms wouldn't allow. So what you really do is A/B test the CTR and stuff like that. So there are two ways that I suggest that you take advantage of that specific campaign. The first one would be using something that's called custom intent. And the biggest thing people miss when they try and open up a custom intent audience is when you try and create it, the default option is the first option you see, the option that's not marked. People with any of these interests or purchase intentions. What I do want you to choose, just because we're doing a search engine approach, is the second one, which is people who searched for any of these terms inside Google. Okay, so we're going to take from the search campaign the keywords that just like converted the most, or do a keyword research and make sure that you get them inside. The second option might sound really trivial and obvious, but it's just targeting by keywords. So you need to remember, if you really want to crush it, when people use YouTube, they would usually search for how-to videos. So if you have a specific brand or a specific product or a solution or a service that helps with a certain thing, and you are able to produce creatives that would approach that how-to thing, so targeting people who are looking for how to build blah, 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 how to protect my car, how to lose weight, stuff like that, would really tap into that search audience. So you would get people not just like watching your ad, but also wanting to watch your ad because they're just going to see it within the search results. So it's just like tapping into the YouTube search market. Yeah, so the next thing people should take advantage of would be using YouTube channel targeting. So this is a really nice way of kind of like opening up a YouTube campaign without bleeding a lot of money and without waiting a lot of time for the system to optimize. So usually when we open up any campaign, we're going to use similar audiences or in-market audiences and stuff like that. But YouTube channels, at the end of the day, is just the equivalent of a whitelist inside, or a publisher inside natives, or just like a specific placement inside the display network. So I like researching the best channels or specific videos within what I want to target. So if I know I'm doing a phone campaign or whatever, then I would search for these specific YouTube channels and then just start to target them. So you can go into YouTube, or you can use the Google system and just copy paste the URLs from YouTube into the system. And you want to get like a nice balance between the number of subscribers and the video views that that channel has. And start to really, you know, grab that audience, because you kind of like help Google and tell them, okay, you know, I don't want you to just look for people who are interested. I know that people who are searching for reviews for that specific phone are probably considering buying that phone or TV or whatever, so I'm gonna, you know, go into that video channel. Another thing that you can do is use the data from your other campaigns. So if you see a specific channel that brought 2, 3, 4 conversions, it's enough to open up just like a campaign with dedicated channels. So you can do like 5, 10, 15 channels and just take over them, because you know that your audience is there, your audience is converting there. So the goal is essentially just like optimizing according to channels and analytics that you guys have. The next level would be choosing specific videos. So just like the channels approach, if you know that there is a specific channel that is working for you, and you know that there is a specific video that's currently exploding, you want to just buy all the media inside. And sometimes in terms of bidding, I would go and not do any maximizing conversions and stuff like that, because I don't want the system to kind of like decide if she wants to take a part of the auction, or that person is likely or more likely to convert. I just buy through CPM all of the traffic. I'm going to talk to you guys about some native ads tricks that I'm using. So let me tell you usually how I open up a campaign. So first of all, nowadays I don't use any type of whitelists. I feel like even if you have a really good rep that tells you, oh, your best competitor or your closest competitor is using these publishers, these creatives, so many times people just try and copycat those campaigns, and those campaigns fail 95% of the times. So you want to make sure that you really help the system. The way native system works is just like the algo needs a lot of data points in order to really optimize. And when you're closing it or narrowing it down to a certain number of publishers, you're kind of like limiting the way that the system could learn. So you want to make sure that you open up either a really big whitelist, or you just like run a run-of-network campaign. So you want to make sure that the algorithm gets a lot of data. So how I usually open up campaigns would be something like that. I go and open up a lot of ads. That would be like the initial campaign would be 10, 20 ads. And then after I exclude a bunch of publishers, after I choose the ads that are working for me, I go, I open up, I duplicate that campaign, and I choose only the 3, 4 ads that are working, and I make sure that the publisher exclusion list is being duplicated as well, and that helps me crush every time. I'm going to talk to you guys about some Google Ads shopping campaign tips. Okay, this is 2 tips that really helped me crush it, and I know throughout the account audits that people are missing that. So the first one is something that I call a waterfall structure for shopping campaigns. So we're going to have a narrow, a wide, and a really wide one within the shopping network. So the narrow one is going to only include the Google search traffic, the Google shopping traffic. The wider one is going to also include the Google partners traffic, and the widest one is also going to include Gmail, Discovery, and YouTube traffic, which is something that the shopping network has as a placement. And in order to do that, we're going to use a prioritization strategy. So the narrow campaign would have been something like that, just the Google core traffic. The wider campaign would have the Google search partners, and then we'll have the widest campaign including the YouTube, Gmail, and Discovery traffic. So how you're going to do it is by using the prioritization stuff. So we're going to set the campaign, the first campaign, the narrow campaign, set as the highest. we're going to set the wider campaign set as a medium prioritization, and we're going to set the widest one as low. So you want to make sure that you can really adjust the CPC, because shopping network campaigns are kind of like a black box, and that allows you to better control them. So I want to break something down that's extremely important. Every time I go inside an account, I would see a smart shopping campaign. Everyone in this room is a professional marketer. Please don't use smart shopping network campaigns, because it's going to limit the scale that you can do, okay? Yes, these campaigns are nice for amateurs, for people who don't want to deal with managing the campaign on a day-to-day, but the main con to these campaigns is the fact that you cannot scale them, because you cannot open up any other campaign. These campaigns kind of like take all the volume inside them. So when you level up and you want to open up more campaigns and you want to do the waterfall structure, you want to make sure that you kill them first. So yeah, there are two main reasons for using the shopping prioritization thing. The first one is when you are running a remarketing campaign, and the second one is when you want to segment out or distinguish between certain SKUs or products that you have. A healthy shopping network campaign setup would look something like that. You would have your top priority set as high. That's the people who purchased from you in the past. You would have the people who are middle of the funnel, kind of like view the product, visited the website, maybe the remarketing campaign. And then you would have like your top products for cold traffic set as like a medium priority, and the wide cold traffic set as a low priority. And this is just like one structure that I like, but you guys can change and play with it and be creative. And one tip that I wanted to give you guys that is really crushing it for me is creating hidden SKUs. So you would have specific products that are not listed inside the website, but you would have them inside the Google Merchant Center, which is connected to your Google Ads account, so that certain people are going to see certain SKUs. So for example, people who abandoned cart, when they search for you or they search for your brand, are going to see specific products that are on a discounted price, but you can also send them to a specific product page that is optimized towards people who purchased from you in the past or abandoned their cart or something like that. So this has made such a big difference in my campaigns, just because every small change that you're making to that bottom of funnel traffic has such a big impact in terms of prioritization and stuff like that. So this is a really nice thing. So my final wolf tip, and this is something really nice, just a nice feature Google added if you guys want to search for new audiences and stuff like that. And it also works really good if you already have an account that's been running for a while and has some conversion data. So two ways of getting new ideas on what to target. The first one is search-based. So this allows you to get information on your past click performance, but also advertisers like you. How you open that up is when you launch a campaign or when you enter the audiences tab and you want to target different ones, you just start writing something inside the search box, something like shop or shoppers, and then you would have stuff that is like advertisers like you and based on your past click performance. That's a big thing. The other way to kind of like find new audiences would be through the audiences insights. So make sure when you go into the audience manager, you go into the audience insights tab, you choose a specific audience segment, which is something people tend to miss, and you get to see just like what are the closest in-market or affinity audiences that you guys have. So my rule of thumb would be targeting anything that has above 3x index, even if it doesn't make sense. Like sometimes you would have people that are searching for trips to Japan, for example, or something like that, but that's still something that the system kind of like saw a correlation between people who converted and people who are just like likely to convert with you. So I just want to wrap it up and tell you that I want to share with you guys something. That's the biggest reason for me thriving in this industry throughout these tough times with tracking, with pricing, with everything. So shit is going to happen. This is the only thing that is guaranteed in this game. expect it. People are going to leave you. Your projects are going to take 5 times more money, more effort. People are going to join you in the middle. Don't go into any type of project if you do not understand and fully expect it. You have to train your brain to understand the struggles and that the hardest projects or any projects are going to take 5, 10 times as much efforts and stuff like that. By doing that, you're not only going to suffer less when that happens, you're also going to bounce back from it. Okay, so I feel like affiliate world has changed so much, and Jason said it just before me. When we started, there were a lot less people, and I feel like just by being here, you overcame a lot of fears, you got out of your comfort zone, and you already pushed yourself through travel restrictions and stuff like that, and you are doing whatever you can to meet up with like-minded, smart people, and I feel like that's the biggest thing. And I feel like you are all on your way to grow by gaining more knowledge, more networking and stuff like that. So thank you so much, guys. I love you. Thank you for being a part of the Wolf Pack. I really hope you guys liked it. If you did, send me a direct message. I'm on Instagram, Tinder, OkCupid, JDate, Grindr, whatever. I'm opening up every option at this point. But yeah, make sure that you guys follow me. I love you. Thank you so much.